Oh, hey, welcome back. So today I'm going to be building this Tesla coil kit, and I put my own little spin on it. Got a little base for it, some cooling fans, little extra stuff. Gonna make it work with music. So let's dive right in. So first things first, let's get everything out of the bags. All right, so it's a pretty neat little kit, I gotta say. I don't know if you guys remember the super tiny one that I had built. I put this together on a live stream. It might have actually been the first live stream I ever did, if I'm remembering correctly. And honestly, I was impressed because this has the coil. The primary is inside the circuit board on this, and the secondary just is glued to the board. I really wasn't expecting it to work as well as it did. The only issue is it's just driven with a single MOSFET and actually, I don't even know if it's a MOSFET. It might just be a regular transistor, like a 6 amp 100-volt transistor, and just overheats like crazy, and it's surprisingly powerful for its size and design, but it's also not very powerful at all. We're going to go ahead and start assembling. Now what I like to do first is mount the um, transistor and the MOSFET to the heat sinks right off the bat, and I'm using my I'm using my low grade thermal compounds, the cheap stuff. So even though these things do generate a lot of heat, the thermal transfer with this goop is more than enough. I haven't had any overheating problems, and I've built several of these now. So we got them mounted to the heat sinks. Now I'm going to jump onto the resistors first, I believe. I think that's the way to go. So these bad boys are 10Ks. And if we look at the board, you can see one of them goes there, the other one goes there. So I think that's where I'm going to put them. Alright, so I've got the majority of the kit assembled now. All that's missing is my connections for the audio over here, and a connection for my fan right here. And then of course at the other end of the audio wires I need to wire in the Bluetooth module. Alright, so real quick, let me just explain. So what I did here was run the left and the right channels into these two pins right here. So this is the ground, and then this is both the left and the right. Now, if you look at the board, you can see that the left and the right are combined together. So this is obviously a mono setup, but I still ran two separate wires anyways. And then the primary coil is just a single turn, as you can see here. And the Bluetooth module is going to sit a little ways away like this. Now, the reason I'm doing it like this, where you still have to plug in USB to power this is how I'm just mimicking the way I made this Christmas gift originally. I had gone through a bunch of iterations. I had tried neon sign transformers. I tried making ZVS drivers, all these different ways to make these gases glow and the neon bulbs glow and stuff. And then I finally realized, like, why haven't I just done a Tesla coil, that would have been the easiest. And by that point, it was like a couple weeks until Christmas, and I didn't have any other ways to get the 18 to 24 that this runs on down to the 5 for this. So I just said, whatever, I'll have 2 plugs. I'll give them the USB cord for this and the power for this. So now to do the mounting, I think that looks fine. So the next step, I'm going to pull it away from the wall just a little bit. I got a calligraphy Sharpie. It's got a flat tip on it, so when I drop it in this hole and spin it around, we get a nice little dot right in line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Since these standoffs are metric, then I get my English drill bits, and that way I can have a hole that's just a hair smaller and not the exact same size. Really, I just want to try and center the drill bit with the eyeball best we can. So then we just flip it over, take the standoff and push it into the hole a little. And then we take our electrician's hammers here. And there you go. Now we just gotta do it 3 more times. Going a little too hard with my hammer. Oh well, that's alright. It'll be just fine. We're gonna pretend like that isn't broken. Continue along. So here's where we get to test your iometer. See how accurate you are. I've built 6 or 7 of these so far, and I'd say 4 of them I was able to put all 4 screws in. So as you can see, that hole isn't quite lined up enough. Alright, so now I got the Tesla coil mounted in there nice and good. So we're gonna use some double-sided tape to mount the Bluetooth module. I want to have it out this way a little bit so that there's room to click in the USB cable. So we'll just go ahead and cut ourselves off a piece. That would be grand. So just want to give it a nice little squeeze. Make sure it gets well adhered. Thinking right about there. And there we go. We got some good adhesion. Alright, so now that that's mounted, I'm going to go ahead and power it up. Now, I haven't connected the fan yet. So now I just want to run it for a little while, let things warm up, and then once it gets warmed up, and we're sure there's no arcing going on between the primary and the secondary. Well, the battery died in my thermometer, and I don't have any replacements in stock, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. This one is climbing over 100 degrees, and this one is around 90. So that means this is the main driver, and this is probably the one that's used for music. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my fan in to the little jumpers I soldered on. Nice Chinese fan for a Chinese kit. So to mount the fan, you might assume I would use some of that double-sided tape. In the past, I did try that and it didn't work very well. So normally in these situations, I would use my fast set marine epoxy that I love so much. But naturally, I left that at work. Don't have any on me. So we're going back to basics here. We're going to hit it with some super glue. And we're going to do 1 dot there, 1 dot there, 1 dot there. That's all it takes. We want to get it as close as we can with the iometer, making sure that it's in line with the heatsink. And I think that's pretty good. That's nice and mounted. Now let's have a little bit of fun. That's something I forgot to mention. The frequency is so high that you don't actually feel these shocks. What you feel is your skin burning. So anyways, I'm sure we've all seen neon lighting up before. And I got some big bulbs like that, and I got some little bulbs like that. Another interesting thing is neon, but it has a green phosphor on the inside of the glass. And this is the same, except the phosphor is doped with something to make it blue. Okay, now, so to continue having a little fun and experimenting here, I've got in this tube, this is called a quench or a flash tube, and this is very low pressure xenon inside here. Now, last but not least, I got some hydrogen. This was part of my Christmas gift to everybody. So I actually had to order these from Israel. I was having a very hard time finding suppliers for this. And now for the moment I'm sure you've been waiting for. It's time to see what the audio sounds like out of this thing. Now, if you've seen other Tesla coils capable of producing audio, you may or may not be very disappointed. So first, I like to fire up the Bluetooth module, get that loaded up. HWBT is the module we want. And then you just hit play. And now I have a calligraphic, calligraphic, calligraphic. Ask me how I know. Actually, don't.